I want to talk to you about something that has had a big impact on my life over the last 12 months. It's called Swedish Death Cleaning. It's not just about decluttering, spring cleaning, or organizing your home. It's about valuing what matters, a new outlook on life, and realizing that we don't actually need that much to be happy. Let me explain. Hi, I'm Rennie. I'm an autistic woman living the simple life on a rural property in Tasmania, and I have thoughts. If you're interested in DIY, health and beauty tips, or just the personal experiences of an autistic person, then stick around. I would love to have you. Swedish Death Cleaning, or decluttering, I hope I said that right, is a cultural phenomenon which is about decluttering and easing the burden on your loved ones when you pass away. The concept was popularised by Margareta Magnusson in her fantastic book called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, How to Free Yourself and Your Family from a Lifetime of Clutter. And I've linked the book below in the description if you want to check it out. It is a great read. So the idea behind Swedish Death Cleaning is for individuals to take responsibility for their possessions and declutter and downsize what they have before they die or go into care. The process involves going through personal items such as clothing, books, mementos, all of the things that you own and that you've accumulated. And the idea is to downsize and discard or donate, and also decide what to keep and hand on to the next generation. The end goal is to just curate your belongings down to a very manageable amount so that it eases the burden on your loved ones when they come to go through your possessions. So while the term might sound morbid and actually a little bit dramatic, it's rooted in practicality and in consideration for other people. It encourages individuals to really reflect on their possessions and what they've accumulated in their lifetime. And that in itself can be a really important journey for somebody to have. The way I like to look at it is during the first, say, 40 to 50 years of your life, you are accumulating possessions. So you'll move out of home, get a job, maybe you'll get married or cohabitate with somebody, you might have children, and all of that requires different possessions. You'll get gifts, you'll buy things, you'll need things for those stages of your life. But once you turn, say, 50, then your stage of life is changing. So maybe the children have left home, you're thinking about downsizing your home, you may have changed careers, and you find that the things that were important to you, the things that you needed in your younger years, just aren't valid anymore. It's really the time to start thinking about downsizing and decluttering. And as you get older, you may have to go into a care home, or you might just pass away with old age. And in either case, you will need to go through your possessions, or somebody will. So the idea with Swedish Death Cleaning is that you do all of that before you get to that stage, and it really makes it easier for everyone involved. Not only for you, because you get to say what goes to the next generation, you have some control over it, but also for your children who are left to deal with it, or your relatives or loved ones. And I am quite lucky to still have my parents. I acknowledge that, but there are people in my life, people I know, friends that have lost their parents, and I've seen them go through that process of going through the estate and the belongings of their parents. And it is not only a very emotional and sad time, but also a lot of physical and financial labor. And I guess my aim really is to minimize that for my children if possible. So it was around this time last year, about the beginning of 2023, that I had a little bit of time off, and I decided to do the regular decluttering and organizing of my home. And as I was sorting things into piles and figuring out what to donate and what to store, what to keep, and moving into the storage shed that we have here, I realized that I had a lot of stuff, and the storage sheds were already full of a lot of stuff. In fact, we were, quite unbelievably, thinking about building more storage sheds just to accommodate all of our stuff. So I really started to look at what we had, did we need it? And I noticed that there was a lot of things that we'd just been carrying with us over the decades, you know, from house to house, even country to country. And we, you know, for what reason? So I really started to look at that with a more critical eye and a less emotional eye, if you like. And we were spending a lot of time cataloguing and keeping these possessions safe. So when we started to really look at what we had, we realized that some things we didn't even realize that we owned. We'd had them for so long, we'd never looked at them, and obviously we didn't need them if we didn't even know that we had them. So that's when we realized that something had to be done about it. So we looked at what we had, and there were things that we bought that we were emotionally attached to, maybe things that we felt guilty about because we'd spent money on them and we just thought it was a waste to get rid of them, even though we weren't using them, or maybe they were broken or just not necessary for our lives anymore. So we really started to look at that, and we discovered that there was a lot of things that we didn't need, and it was time to do something about it. And we'd never really thought of ourselves as hoarders, but it was certainly getting to that point. So we started looking at our possessions and asking ourselves questions like, do we need this? Could we use it? Does it work? Could somebody else use it better than we could? Would we buy it again? Would we miss it if it were gone? And those are really important questions in helping us decide what we really needed. And as soon as we started answering this, it immediately became clear what we needed to do. So I began in our house going through one room at a time, one cupboard at a time, one drawer at a time, and even looking at the furniture. We have quite a small house, and I discovered that we didn't really need all of this furniture, and actually a lot of it was just storing things that we weren't using. So that was another thing. We could actually increase the space, our living space in our house, if we didn't have so many things. So over the coming weeks and months, we took carloads and trailer loads of items to the opportunity shop, to the dump, to friends' houses, and even sold things on Facebook Marketplace if they were valuable. And we began to reduce our possessions by about 25% in just a couple of months. So it was a really, really good start for us, and we felt quite encouraged by it. And one thing I really noticed when I was going through our possessions was that we had lots of duplicates of things. For example, do I really need 10 spatulas of the same size? Do I need 20 t-shirts? Do I need 50 towels? And the answer is no, I don't. I only need a few good quality ones that are my favorites and that I use a lot, and the rest of them can be donated. I also noticed that I'd kept things just out of habit because I thought I should. Someone had given them to me, or maybe they were passed down to me, but I didn't use them. Maybe I didn't even like them, but I had sort of a sentimental attachment to them and a bit of guilt in that I couldn't get rid of them. And we'd actually moved house with them over and over, so we'd carefully packed them up, put them in boxes, moved to the next house, unpacked them, put them on display. I'd been cleaning them for years, and really most of them were just decorative items that we didn't really need. They weren't functional. So really it was all that extra work for no value. So those things were boxed up and donated. So once I got the hang of it, after about 6 months, it actually was very satisfying and I felt really good about it. And it became a little bit addictive, to be honest. I began feeling a sense of accomplishment and even relief when things left our house. And I also began to think about what things were coming into our house as well, which was a completely different mindset for me. Swedish Death Cleaning has been a little more difficult for my husband than it has been for me. He's a very emotional person who gets quite attached and sentimental towards objects. So for him, he found it hard to let go of things that he owned. If he felt sentimental about them, then he would want to hang on to them. He's also quite frugal, and he felt a great sense of, well, we've spent a lot of money on that, and we shouldn't let it go because it was expensive. But in reality, when you think about it, it's actually costing us more to hang on to it. We've already spent the money on that particular item, and in order to keep it, you have to store it, you have to catalogue it, you've got to look after it, and that is also expensive. And in cases like that where something was expensive, we found it really helpful to donate or give these items to family members who could use it and would value it. The other thing we did was sold some items on Facebook Marketplace, but we had a rule generally that they needed to be above a certain value, otherwise it just wasn't really worth the time or effort in selling them. And this did make him feel a little bit better that he was recouping at least some money or some satisfaction from passing those items on. Another item that I found really helpful for him was just to tell him to put those particular items into a box and put them onto a particular shelf, and then come back to them in, say, 6 months' time. And if during those 6 months he didn't think about them or hadn't missed them or couldn't even remember them, then we knew that those items had to go. And this worked really well for clothing as well. So if you have a huge bulging wardrobe full of clothes, what the best thing to do, well, to start with, is to put clothes that you don't wear a lot into a box, and then just sort of forget about them and go back to them 6 months, 12 months later. And if you didn't miss them, then they can definitely be donated. So I've noticed that my husband has got a lot better at Swedish Death Cleaning over the past 12 months, and he's a lot more comfortable with letting go of items and seeing them as they really are, just items. The results so far have been really encouraging. As I said, it's only been 12 months, but we have got rid of a lot of things, probably about 50% I would say at this point. And our house is looking a lot emptier, a lot cleaner, there are open spaces, and it's a lot more relaxing to be in our house. We don't feel like we're cramped, and we have a lot more room. One thing that is immediately obvious to people when they come over is how much emptier our house looks. We have less furniture, there are some blank walls, and it's much easier to live in a small house when you have less things. So that in itself has been fantastic. As for our sheds, well, we have 4 storage sheds, and 2 of them are now empty, and the other 2 are really nicely organised and well catalogued. And our goal is to really get it down to just 1 shed for storage, which is still generous. And then I think we can sort of even start getting into that. But I think it is a process. It's going to take us a little bit more time to get there, but we've made huge progress in 12 months, so who knows how long it will take. And the important thing to know too is that it is no longer a daunting task because we have made such progress. Intentionally focusing on the essential elements in my life while deliberately minimizing the excess has led me to the discovery of minimalism. Minimalism is a movement that's been around for quite some time, probably since the 60s, I think. The core idea of minimalism is to really value what truly adds value and letting go of distractions. Swedish Death Cleaning goes beyond decluttering the physical things in my life, but more towards simplifying my life in general. And this includes things like relationships, activities, and commitments. It's a whole new outlook, really. So you can see how Swedish Death Cleaning and minimalism relate. I've really embraced this philosophy and have discovered some great books on the topic. I'm the sort of person who likes to research topics that they're interested in, so I've linked some books in the description below if you want to have a look. I've learned that there are some key principles of a minimalist lifestyle, and I want to share those with you here. Simplicity. Simplifying life by reducing the number of possessions, commitments, and distractions. This allows for a clearer focus on what truly matters. Intentionality. Being intentional about choices and actions. Minimalists aim to make deliberate decisions about how they spend their time, energy, and resources. Mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness and being present in the moment. Minimalists often seek to appreciate and enjoy the current experiences rather than being preoccupied with material possessions or future concerns. Quality over quantity. Preferring quality items and experiences over a large quantity of possessions or activities. This mindset encourages individuals to invest in things that have lasting value. Decluttering. Eliminating unnecessary possessions and organising living spaces to create a more serene and uncluttered environment. Financial freedom. Embracing a frugal lifestyle and avoiding unnecessary expenses. Minimalists often focus on saving money, paying off debt, and achieving financial freedom to have more control over their lives. Environmental awareness. Considering the environmental impact of consumption, minimalists may choose to live a more sustainable lifestyle by reducing waste and opting for eco-friendly alternatives. Many of these have always been my way of thinking, so it does make sense that minimalism does appeal to me. It's important to note that minimalism is a personal journey and everyone has a slightly different interpretation of it. Perhaps you will embrace a more extreme version of minimalism or somewhere in the middle there. But either way, it's really up to you how you want to interpret it and how it works best in your lifestyle. Ultimately, the goal is to create a life that is more meaningful and intentional, and that's going to look different for everybody. Life is much easier with less. It's actually really relaxing to look around your house and see empty spaces. And who knew of the joy of an empty drawer? I mean, it's okay to have an empty drawer or an empty cupboard, and I didn't know this before. Emptiness can be beautiful. Cleaning my house is a much quicker job because I have less stuff, and also there is a place for everything. Everything is always tidy because I know exactly where to put it. I'm not hunting around for things. I don't lose things because there's not many things to find, and it's just a more organized and stress-free lifestyle. I can clearly see how much I have in my home, and everything has been carefully curated and selected for its functionality or its aesthetic pleasingness. And when it comes to gifts, we tend to just give each other experiences now rather than objects. So we might opt for an adventure, a nice hotel stay somewhere, a weekend away, plants, food, things like that, rather than actual objects. So it's really changed our whole outlook on life. And of course, there's that death aspect. We still have a few more years to continue doing the Swedish Death Cleaning, and after that we'll continue on in maintenance mode. Hopefully we still have a few more decades to live too. So by the time we shuffle off this mortal coil, we will have very little left. We would have already given mementos and keepsakes to our children, and all we will have really are the essential things that we need to live and a few things to inspire us. I want our children to know that we lived a life full of love, laughter, beauty and adventure, and we were happy and we had all that we needed. Because in the end, what more could you possibly want? Thanks so much for watching. If this resonated with you or inspired you, then please leave a comment. I would love to read them. And if you think this video would be of value for somebody in your life, then please feel free to share. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.